Grog.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Cider Shed podcast. I'm Matthew Weir, joined by Keri Warbis. Keri, it only feels like yesterday I was hearing your voice in my ears.
Yeah, that's because it was.
I was editing our Patreon where we went back and revisited the death of Mark Hebden. Sorry, spoilers there, if you didn't know.
It was only how long ago? It was 1994.
The event itself was 30 years ago. I was editing it only yesterday. How are you doing anyway?
Really good. I need to ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you foraged?
I have foraged, yes, in Llantony in Wales. And just in South Wales, went over there, went camping and did a bit of foraging.
Oh, was Brother Cadfael in the...
I love that.
Yes. All right, Brother Cadfael.
Yeah, I want more ITV historical drama references.
Because he was a herbalist, I understand.
I want someone to, when Harrison gets all manly, they'll be all right, f*** off Sharp.
What did you forage then there?
Mushrooms.
Oh, well, I've done that. Yeah, didn't really think of that as foraging. But what about green stuff?
Wild garlic. We've gone out to pick near Dad's. Yeah. Do you think you'd be any good at it, Keri?
Don't know. I've picked wild garlic actually as well. In Cornwall, there's a plant and it's got like a sort of triangular stem.
Well, Keri, may I invite you to play Dinner or Death?
Oh, good. Okay.
So I'm going to give you a description of a plant, and you tell me if you're sticking it in your dinner or not.
Right. No name of plant.
I'm going to describe as you see it, okay? So, purple-green bell-shaped flowers with untoothed oval leaves. The berries are green and they ripen to black. You'll find it mainly in the southern half of the UK in woodland, along paths and in scrubby areas.
Death.
Deadly nightshade. Well done.
I'm still alive.
This familiar woodland plant, with its tall spikes of pink and purple flowers in early summer, it grows throughout the UK along woodland edges, roadside verges and hedgerows. It's also a common garden plant.
Dinner.
Death!
Oh,
foxglove.
Oh, right. Did it say bell-shaped? The flowers weren't mentioned, were they?
It said tall spikes of pink and purple flowers. I agree they are bell-shaped.
Spikes? I'd know not to eat a foxglove.
A large plant up to 2 meters tall with hollow purple blotched stems. The mature plants have a strong smell apparently similar to mouse urine. You'll find it in damp areas along the edges of woodland, along ditches, streams and roadside verges.
Mouse urine? That's quite specific, isn't it? Does mouse urine smell wildly different to other urine? It must do, I suppose. Dinner?
Afraid it's death, Keri.
The mouse urine was a clue, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A bit off-putting, maybe.
A creeping plant with small pointed leaves and star-like white flowers. Look for it in your borders in the garden and on waste ground. It's abundant and ongoing throughout the year from spring to late autumn.
Well, that sounds nice. I'll say dinner.
Yeah, chickweed.
Oh, cool.
This weed, also known as cuckoo pint. That's like an idiot that leaves their pint on your table when they go to the bathroom in a toilet and comes back 4 hours later, isn't it? Going, is that mine? You'll find this plant in woodland and along hedgerows. It has large arrow-shaped purple spotted leaves at the base of the plant. Its flowering spike has a yellow-green hood, technically known as a spathe, surrounding the flower spike. Its berries are green, orange or red, depending on their ripeness.
It's the purple spotted leaves that are putting me off here. So I'm going to say death. But there's a thing called cuckoo spit, isn't there? Which is like a sort of frothy stuff that, yeah.
The aphids are being hatched in, yeah.
No, I don't want to eat this one.
Lords and ladies. Do you know what would happen if you ate it?
No.
This plant contains minute needle-shaped crystals which can severely irritate the skin. Consumption can lead to throat swelling, breathing difficulties and stomach irritation. It's rare to accidentally eat large quantities of this plant because it has an acrid taste and gives a tingling sensation which acts as a warning.
Interesting this actually, isn't it?
When I started looking at some of these plants, I was like, my God, I suddenly, even though I'm sat on the 4th floor of an apartment in Portugal, I was like, what if I accidentally eat one of these?
We've managed so far, Matthew, haven't we, in life? But maybe we'll be surrounded by death.
We are. I think the effects of deadly nightshade are far worse. Deadly nightshade apparently was used to make eye drops, which were applied by women to dilate their pupils in ancient Greece, possibly because they hadn't done their homework.
Yeah. You could use quite a few of these to sort of like, put them in someone's dinner if you didn't like them very much, couldn't you?
I think there's been a few cases of that in the UK because there's some that are hard to trace, aren't there? This sounds like a CAD file storyline or
It
Midsummer
does.
Murders. All right, Keri, I think that's our cue to take a break.
Lovely.
Have you heard? Bridge Farm is going to start catering for fun events. Yes, fun and Bridge Farm in the same sentence. So why not start with one of Natasha's baby showers? Practice your Hitler nappy fastening technique. Learn the most desirable remote Welsh villages to do a run or two, and give your in-laws the slip straight after childbirth. Take a crash course in how to rip the piss out of your partner in Welsh so they don't understand a fucking word you're saying. And of course, let Natasha teach you how to change any subject of conversation into a wistful, martyr-like conversation about you, your dick of a husband, and your kids.
Keri, do you want to hear me being wrong?
Yes, always. Thank you. I do hope that we get to hear some of the festival.
No, we won't. It'll be Saturday, won't it? And then Sunday, we'll just be hearing the aftermath of the festival and the fallout of Denise, Paul, Alistair, and John. I think that's what we're going to get. I'm glad to be wrong, to be honest.
Yeah, where there were people in tents and you could hear music in the background.
It was a bit rocky at the beginning. It was up there with the wrinkly music, generic rock music I put on the ad in the first clip. But in the second one, it was all a bit ambient and dancey, wasn't it?
They were very sensible, I thought, mainly due to Lily saying, like, pack everything up immediately and then we'll be ready to leave when the last band has finished. Most people who go to festivals aren't that clued up about the practicalities and logistics of leaving tidily.
I must confess, the last time I went to Glastonbury was 2007 and it rained constantly. And we were there for about 6 days. And I think I woke up on the Sunday morning. So the festival still has one whole full day to go. And it was just waking up again to the rain on the roof of the tent. And I turned to my then girlfriend and said, should we just go home? And we packed up our bags. It was about 8 in the morning. Everyone was sleeping. This was at a time when they were still asking people to leave tents. Now they don't, but like we left the tents because there was a charity that year collecting them. And we walked up to the top of the site. There was no queues, got on the bus to Bristol Temple Meads and we're home. And I remember within like an hour, I was at Sainsbury's deli counter picking out things.
Having the best time of your life.
Yeah, and then I went home, sat on the sofa, completely showered. My mum had to hose us down outside before she'd let us in the house. My friend Rat, my mobile phone went off and I answered it. And I'm sat at home, my mum's house that is. I didn't live there, I lived in Ireland, watching Glastonbury on the TV in the pissing rain. And Rat just said, Matthew, I'm outside your tent. Do you want to go get a coffee? And I'm like, oh, Rat, I don't know how to tell you this. We were in a big group. I didn't abandon him.
Yeah.
I'm back in Bristol, sat on the sofa, and there was this really long pause, and he just went, you lucky bastard.
I bet. Oh, what a good story. You see, watching on sofas is lovely. No, I mean, if it's that weather though, I mean, where it's relentless and the mud and like there's just...
Yeah. The first 3 I went to were absolutely sun-kissed to the point where I think on the Saturday of one of them, it was overcast and a light drizzle and everyone was like, oh, thank God. But the fourth one I went to, which I think was 97, was just like the Somme.
Oh dear. But poor old Freddie, he woke up grumpy, didn't he? At first he was kind of saying it was about his sleeping mat being 1 centimetre thin. They are just absolutely bloody pointless, those roll things, aren't they?
Yeah. Go inflatable.
Yeah, definitely go inflatable. And they normally bloody go down anyway, don't they? But sleeping on those tiny thin mats is horrible. But no, it as we learned later, it's not because of his sleeping mat, is it? He's getting bullied.
And these people were at the festival as well. They were at the Wrinkly Festival.
He was just about to neck a tequila sunrise and someone bowls into him, oinking like a pig.
The thing with that is, it's the third day of an open air festival. That could just as easily be a chartered accountant trying to ask where the jazz tent is, who's lost all ability to speak at that point, thinking he's making perfect sense.
Or walk properly.
So he's getting bullied by Antonio.
Yep, Jason's mate. Yeah, and Lily was supportive and saying, you must tell Vince. He's sure to sort it all out.
And he didn't really help, did he? But do you think Vince's approach is probably for the best in terms of the workplace, or do you think it's totally unhealthy?
I think parts of it kind of reasonable, but the bit that's missing for me is his acknowledgement of Freddie's struggling with it.
Yeah.
He's asked him, he's saying, I told you not to fire him, and I'm the one getting all the grief about that decision.
Yeah, well, we were in that room, so we heard what was said. Freddie said, if you tell us everything, you can keep your job. And Jason went, really? And then we never heard what came next, but apart from Freddie going, I can't believe you fired him after I told him that.
Freddie's a bit naive, obviously, about how Vince operates in that situation. Like to believe that Vince would keep him is a bit naive. But bless Freddie, he does. He what was he saying? Like, well, I believe that if you value workers, you'll get the best out of them. And Vince is like, nah, you just gotta. You're not here to make friends. It's not about being liked.
Yeah, he essentially said that if you get yourself into a situation where you're mates with people, it's going to be difficult when you have to fire them.
Yeah, which is very black and white, isn't it? I mean, you can be nice to people whilst managing them successfully. It's a good balance. But it was when Vince said, show them a bit of backbone. I thought, what, from the abattoir? I know Freddie got that snout in his pocket, but is he expecting him to carry a bit of spine around to give it back to them? I don't know.
Well, Vince said there's worse things to find in your pocket. Do you think someone's just like put a turd in his pocket at some point in his life?
I hope so.
He's quite vocal about how he came up from nothing, Vince, right? So he's probably
School of Hard Knocks kind of thing, isn't
exactly.
it, with him? Which I'm not sure that Freddie's going to graduate from, really.
I mean, a snout is also a vague reference to being a grass, isn't it?
Oh, is that a prison term?
I think so.
Snout. Or is that for tobacco? I'm thinking of Porridge now. You know that programme?
Not to be confused with forage.
Yeah. Snout. What is snout in prison? Snout. Oh, it's tobacco. Yeah. You mask your smoking by pretending to rub your nose. Maybe it is. Is snout an informer? A criminal who gives information? Yeah. We're both right. Happy days.
That's never happened before.
Yeah, I feel for Freddie, but he's learning more about what Vince is like.
I at one point I thought it was going to go full meat squad, and him and Vince were going to go down there and have it out with Antonio, but
with the tagging gun.
Yes. But it's more than just Antonio, isn't it? You mentioned Antonio, Curtis. That's Tony Curtis. Yeah, Andy Williams.
Oh yeah, Roger Whittaker.
Engelbert Humperdinck. They're all picking on him. Yeah, Roger Whittaker cornered me in the cubicle and started whistling.
No, I think Lily won't be too impressed by Vince's tack, though, if she finds out.
No, because she said Vince will sort it, didn't she?
When Freddie says, well, I told Vince, and he said, oh, just shut up and get on with it.
Elizabeth just won't give a shit, will she?
Well, I don't know. I wish she did give a shit. And this is fine if this is all that happens, but if the bullying escalates, then it isn't fine, is it?
No.
So I do think something has to be said to them. Like, all right, you've had your fun now. Don't want to see any more of this.
Week from now, Freddie wakes up with Cranford Crystal's head in his bed.
Yes. Yeah. I think, they're mentioning it for, they're mentioning it for a reason, aren't they? It's probably going to recur, but also it was running in tandem with another bullying story, which is Milo Hayward, isn't it? Who sounds like an absolute arsehole.
Oliver's clearly come through the fagging system in public school, isn't he? Because he was like, no, it's absolutely it's character building to have your finger chopped off. Makes a man to have red hot pokers shoved in every orifice.
Well, him and Vince are similar then, aren't they? Sort of, oh no, it doesn't matter if people are really bullying you and are absolute twats to those around them. It's fine, all part of life's rich tapestry. Well, no, it isn't. You bloody challenge it.
And suddenly you've got Jazza and Tracy are totally immersed in the world of foraging, like weeds and plants and green stuff. I'm not sure Jazza's ever eaten anything green in his life, has he?
Well, because Neil was like going, what, well, call yourself a man of the country. Yes, I don't think he has he?
Did you say he was brought up in Springburn in Glasgow, I think?
Oh, yeah, true. But there was pineapple weed. I've never heard of that.
I've heard people talk about it. I've never seen it, and I didn't know what the basis of the name was.
I was quite interested by the little nugget of information Neil said about the seeds getting stuck in tyres and travelling around the country from Kew Gardens.
Yeah, that's how Adam got
out. And they'd landed at Kew Gardens from abroad. I like this sort of like the way that, plants get propagated around the countryside.
There's some water lily in Kew Gardens, which I think only exists there now because it's become extinct in other parts of the world. I think it was brought over from South America. I always like it when people try to do selfies and make videos in the botanics and their lenses just immediately steam up so you can never see anything. It's somewhere I've never been, always wanted to go.
Oh, I have been once, years ago. It's fabulous. It's quite a way out of London.
On the northwest side, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds like there should be NWA should be up there waiting for you.
But well worth a visit. And then there was Soldier's Woundwort, which acts as an antiseptic, so you can chew it and then put it on your wounds.
There was chickweed, which can be easily confused with speedwell. And I was like, what? The school my dad went to?
And Flibberty Gibbet, which is also called Billy Buttons. Great. I thought that was a new bloody triple. No, what are they?
The triplets.
The triplets. Tilly, Millie, Billy.
Tilly, Billy, Molly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they don't all rhyme, do they?
It's a good job kids aren't adept with this kind of foraging knowledge, because his nickname in school was Flibberty Gibbet would be bloody misery, wouldn't it, of his life?
Yeah, and that was the mallow plant, wasn't it? And marshmallow is, I presume, when mallow's in marshes, isn't it?
How is this going to shape dinner at the Horrobins from now on then? Because we've been used to Tracy screaming up the stairs at the kids. Be like, Brad, Chelsea, get down here. Your nuggets, them potatoes with smiley faces, and your hairy bitter crest puree are going cold.
Yes.
If you don't finish your burdock cerviche.
Yeah, there'll be no Viennetta afters. It was that sort of the really funny bit where each party, like Neil and Jazza and Susan and Tracy, had both decided to cook the meal using the forage things, and they both said it at the same time.
I actually fell on the floor and rolled over like an injured South American footballer.
You ruffled. What did you think of Neil poo-pooing the 240 quid per person day ticket to watch Milo Hayward picking stuff and then a 3-course meal?
Totally behind him. Absolutely ridiculous.
He went, what? He did one of those, didn't he?
There's no way they've got 500 to splash on that.
No. I liked how he thought the car's new tyres were more important to spend money. Hey, they could put seeds in the car's new tyres. Yeah. Spread the foraged stuff around. Well, they never bloody go anywhere. It would just be round Ambridge, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think that sounded very, very steep, the ticket.
Tracy would have given her so much jip in reality if she hadn't had this mild personality transplant this week about the fact they were going to pay for nearly 500 to watch some ponce cook some weeds.
But instead, they're going to watch Neil cook some weeds. He's making nettle pesto.
Worth every penny, 1,000, £1,000. I'd stump up for that.
What if Neil came and catered for you?
There were some great Neil noises this week, weren't there?
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of jealousy that she'd met Milo, but it was tempered with the fact that it got him off the hook for not wanting to splash the cash.
And it was also tempered by him and Jazza fantasizing about going to a pub with Nigella.
Yes, a pub crawl with Nigella, I'd be up for. You've had some Archers-based chat with Nigella, haven't you?
It wasn't Archers based, it was lasagna based, I think.
But then you did ask her about the Archers.
Ah, right, did I? Yeah, probably. Yeah, she replied to a tweet where it was either spaghetti bolognese or lasagna. I'd sort of mentioned what I'd done to some recipe, and she went, "Yep, that's what it's all about, adding your own touches."
Yeah, you said you add cheddar to bolognese, not parmesan. She was like, so do I, didn't she?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite exciting when she replies to things, and she does do it quite often. Well, I don't know if it is actually her or some EA or something, but you know.
I think it's her. She replied to me once about I made like a Guinness cupcake, and she replied to that.
Poor old Jazzer, he put his arms in a carrier bag full of the nettles, didn't he?
God, I had a flashback from my childhood when that happened. I was almost in the Credible Hulk outfit once, and I fell over a fence into 6 foot of stinging nettles, with only the shorts on. So you imagine me when they pulled me out.
Matthew, I did. I fell into, not to take away from your terrible trauma, I'm sorry that happened to you. but I also did. I was in Somerset at the time and fell into this massive sort of ditch thing full of nettles. So that explains a lot about the pair of us.
Where were you in Somerset?
Oh, now this is a good question. I was visiting my auntie Jen. She has lived in Yeovil, but I don't think it was Yeovil that we were at. We were on a lovely walk, quite up high somewhere. I need to ask my mother.
I know Yeovil. A friend of mine used to live down there. I've never seen people party in a small town as hard as I have in Yeovil. There was one cocktail bar, and it was just right, it opens till 3 a.m. Everyone just gets in there, gets hammered, and then gets taxis home again. PJ Harvey's from there as well, isn't she?
Oh, it's quite a Lib Dem stronghold, or it used to be, didn't it?
Paddy Ashdown was from there.
I've met him.
So I think that kind of cemented the Lib Dem thing.
Yeah, I met him at Brighton train station. He was lovely, very friendly. I said, "You're Paddy Ashdown, aren't you?"
Cider Shed, breaking news.
Really sort of insightful conversation.
Yeah, what did he say, Keri?
Yes, I am, yes. And sort of, he did that. He's got a lovely smile and his eyes all sort of crease up. Right, we've gone a bit off track, haven't we?
Well, no, the stinging nettles. Jazzer, the hand in the bag.
Yes, that's right. He said, oh, you haven't foraged any of them dock leaves as well, have you? Why are they talking about these two bullying type individual stories at the same time, do you think?
We are led to believe now that Milo isn't bullying. He's just robust. I mean, I can imagine exactly the kind of character that he is, having worked in the industry. But certainly Tracy and Susan fell for his charms, didn't they? Imagine he's been pissy as hell. He's been trying to get this 3-course dinner ready. He's stressed and he's a perfectionist. And Oliver walks in and went, "Oh, hello, Milo. Here's 2 people who would like to meet you. They've been out foraging themselves. Are they paying for the dinner?"
Yeah.
If not.
Yeah, because Oliver said as well that oh, well, it seems that everyone in the brigade or whatever was really smiling all the time. And you just think, yeah, that doesn't mean that they're really happy. It's probably because they're afraid they know that he's got clout. It doesn't, do you know what I mean? I was like, well, that you're not reading that situation necessarily that clearly. Well, he's blinded by the fact that he just wants great publicity in the Borchester Life. So that's all he was caring about, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Do you think the scriptwriters think they are writing Denise as a sympathetic character?
It's possible that they think that they are. However, they're not. I take your point.
In the same way they think the same as of Helen?
Yeah, along those lines, where they are quite stunned when they realise so many of the listeners cannot abide her. And they don't understand why, when she's been through everything she's been through, etc.
But for you, it's the method, isn't it?
Yeah, it is for me. I think, I don't know, it's a mix of 2 things. One is I don't approve of people having affairs. So there's that. Even though some people seem to think that testing the waters with others is fine when you're married to see what else is out there. Great. And the other is, I'm not entirely convinced by her acting. So it's like a mix of the two.
Yeah, I'm going to reference you to Joe commented on our Patreon from last week, and she says, I've seen the actor who plays Denise be very good in Shakespeare on stage and very good in The Outlaws on the telly. Brizzle accent and everything, so she can definitely act. So can only conclude it's the character and the characterization that's at fault here. Unless she turns out to be a serial cheat and liar and treats Alistair badly, I just don't understand what they're doing with her. Turns out John is nice and not emotionally dead, so perhaps she's making it all up.
Although Paul did say to Lily, when he was going, it's all come out of the blue to me. I feel like an idiot for not noticing. He said, Dad turned to stone and Denise did all the talking. I thought that would get in the way of your relationship.
Yeah.
If your partner's suddenly actually calcified.
It's like the satanic undead biker gang at the end of Psychomania.
Is it?
Yes, they all turn into standing stones.
What was Denise saying? Let's have a think. She cried. Still holds no truck with me, that.
Yeah, it was all very awkward because they were in the practice and she was praising Alistair for getting the grass seed out of Tosca's paws. I mean, that started last week. How long Tosca been in there? Like 7 days?
Oh, and isn't that just a thing that vets do? Is it that difficult? Is it that abnormal?
No, I don't think so. I think Dad's had to take the dogs in quite a few times for that after they've been over the field because it gets a little bit inflamed and agitated.
Oh, you can imagine, can't you? Ooh.
And she's going home to John, which she's dreading. I felt by the end of that scene, Paul's starting to put 2 and 2 together.
Well, he directly asked her, is there something you're not telling me?
Yeah.
And she didn't say anything. There was a slight hint where she began to go, well, and then just didn't bother. And then she said to Alistair, I feel ashamed. And he was like, what? Well, not of us. Like, what are you? Yeah, you should be bloody ashamed, I think.
I'm ashamed of what we did in that boat at Horny Duck Lake last week.
I mean, there is a counterpoint on Twitter about, Paul's sensitivities, and people are saying, oh, he's a grown-up, he's an adult, it's nothing really to do with him. And I was like, well, it is, like, it's the work situation which is extra magnifying this, isn't it? He's literally in a workplace with both of these people, one of whom I did call Alistair his boss on Twitter, and someone pulled me up on that. But he is a senior person in the practice, and his mother, who have been lying to him all this time. I think it's that, really. Yes, he is an adult, but it's not good to be lied to for several weeks in this manner, I don't feel.
And some of the dialogue in that, because you've got Alistair saying, are you hanging around, Denise? Are you going home? She's like, yeah, I'm going to be here for a bit. And he's like, great. Paul's getting ready to kind of head off for dinner with Lily. And then at the end, she's crying. And she said, you go and enjoy your dinner. Denise says, Alistair will look after me. And Alistair then goes, I'm here, Paul.
Don't you worry, I'll take good care of her. And you're like,
yeah, don't you worry, Paul. I'm going to give her a right good seeing to once you're out.
I'll take her mind off this stupid situation. I know. I mean, because obviously it's dramatic irony, isn't it? We know the backstory. So for us, it's like, be careful, Alistair, with what you're saying here. It's so obvious, but it's only obvious to us, not to Paul.
But by the end of that scene, there was a bit where Paul went, oh, okay, if you're sure then. And he walked off, and I felt he's starting to see it.
I hope so. Because John obviously could tell him, couldn't he? John could tell Paul, but he said that Denise needs to. Denise said, I agree with John, it should be me, but she hasn't got round to it yet. And she needs to tell both of her children this information. But Carla's off abroad, isn't she, still at the moment?
She's suddenly of major concern, isn't she, Carla, despite the fact we'd never heard of her before.
Yeah. So what's she going to do? Have a bloody FaceTime with both kids to reveal this, or what?
Yeah, Carla, I can see you're up the top of Kilimanjaro, but this is important.
I want to hear this conversation, because we didn't hear the John, Denise, Paul scene at all, did we? About the sort of we're splitting up.
Although I'm not sure it makes great radio if someone turns to stone.
True. Perhaps that was why. I want it to be revealed to Paul quite soon, though, please.
I mean, I have it in my head that Alistair and Lily are quite close, aren't they, because of the Shula connection?
Yeah, we will see. Oh, the Gills got a mention, though, didn't they?
They did. You have to give them a feel, don't you? Or have a look at them.
Yeah, don't they smell of apricots or something?
They're a funny bunch, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, that was Neil with his mushrooms, wasn't it? How do you know they're not poisonous? Well, you check the gills. Good. That's what they're there for, is it?
They're still on the cutting room floor due to the pandemic, we believe, right?
Well, everyone seems to be, pretty much. There's only about 5 people in every omnibus. She exaggerated wildly.
If you're looking for something special for the boys before a big wedding, then why not book in with Bridge Farm fun events for your stag party? We present to you Tom Archer's Sausage Fest. First, a fun game of pull your brother out from under the tractor. Then, a blindfold taste test of Tom's most absolutely minging pastries. And finally, a pep talk from the veg box packing streak of piss himself, advising you on the perfect number of minutes you should leave it before the vows, before unceremoniously shitting your Underwood's undies and calling the whole thing off.
That's blown it. When are we going to get our dinner now?
Well, someone who was in it this week, Pip.
Ah, yes. Oh, she was annoying immediately to me. In the tea room, nagging Stella about, you not knowing what she wanted for breakfast. You've had ages to choose. She's so awful to be around, isn't she?
But I do like the way Stella was like, oh, who am I kidding? All day fry up.
Yeah. None of this shakshuka nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, shakshuka. Shakshuka is now the bloody pulled pork of 2024, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just like, isn't it like masses of tomatoey liquid with a egg plonked in the middle?
Oh, it's nice if it's done right. The conversation has switched to this hen night that they're organising for someone they barely know.
Yeah, Alina. Well, like, where has she cropped up from? And Stella was quite sniffy about the venue of the hen do because it's a holiday let.
Yeah, I didn't really get why she was that sniffy about that.
Because there's a housing crisis, isn't there? And people with second homes are the devil incarnate.
Sorry, yeah, I totally forgot. Forgot my politics there for a minute.
Yeah, and your countrysideness.
My countrysideness.
Well, like loads of people, like especially in sort of West Country, there's huge uproar about people buying holiday cottages, isn't there?
20 years ago, it used to be the commuter village issue, which was like people would live in places around Gloucestershire and commute up to London, but thus there being no kind of community feel in the place. But now it's a little bit more like, well, you've got that situation of people who can sell up their house in London and suddenly buy somewhere in Stroud for cash and jump right to the front of the queue. That's been happening a lot.
And in Wales, it was a thing, wasn't it? Particularly, I remember that was they were burning the houses and things, weren't they? As protests. I remember donkeys ago.
Wherever Dad lives, if someone dares stay in an Airbnb, they've got flaming torches and pitchforks outside immediately.
That's nice. Well, I'm a bit worried about, I mean, it's slightly different, but when I go to Spain, there's been lots of protests in Spain by locals, like squirting water pistols at tourists.
Yeah.
Because there are too many tourists. I think it is the most visited tourist country. But I think Chelsea was all over this catering situation because Stella asked, didn't he? Don't the tea room do events catering? And Chelsea was like, yeah, of course. We can do manicures, pedicures as well. And Stella was a bit sniffy about the idea of having pedicures at a hen do, whereas Pip was really loving that. So they keep being slight opposing opinions about things between the pair of them being highlighted. Whether that's just, you are allowed to not have identical thoughts and feelings to your partner, but I wonder whether that is a bit of a hint at future, what's the word? I was going to say future crevice. I don't know why. Like a sort of, I don't know.
Didn't they play Wrinkly Musical Festival?
Future crevice.
Future crevice, or wrinkly crevice.
Well, it could be a future wrinkly crevice. But you know what I mean? A fissure. What's the word? Like splitting between the two of them. Oh, dear.
Fragmentation.
Oui, monsieur. That's it. Have you noticed that too, do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's little clues there, aren't there, that they're possibly not on the same page. Like you said, you don't always have
Yeah.
to be, but there might be some bones of contention later. Was Chelsea recommending something called moronic acid?
Is that a tent at Wrinkly Festival? Go to the moronic acid tent. It's wild in there.
Yeah, Freddie's look, I'm just going to chill. I'm just going to hang out at the moronic acid tent.
Yeah, I don't know what she was talking about there. That sort of naturally occurring thing.
Stella was saying that her feet are really grim. No one wants to see them. And I was reminded that Toby once bitched to somebody about Pip. He went, well, she walks around barefoot in the cottage, which is grim. I was thinking the two of them together.
With their trotters. I mean, I've never had a manicure. I've never had a pedicure. I would certainly not have it at a hen night of mine, which will never happen anyway. But no, I'm with Stella on that. All that pampering girly nonsense is not my bag.
No, I'm kind of surprised it's Pip's, to be honest.
Yeah, true.
She's always been, muddy wellies, get out there in the field at 5 a.m. This doesn't seem her either, but...
Do you think Fallon's going to get into bother for doing this little sideline thing, even though it's for Alina, whose family are from Ukraine?
Surely if she clears it for Emma to cover at the tea room, it'll be fine.
I don't know.
What could possibly be the problem? Natasha not liking that she's doing outside catering?
Yeah, so that she hasn't run it past her because she's kind of getting the gig due to being at the tea room. I don't know. I just think Natasha likes controlling stuff.
Maybe. Wait and see. Her and Chelsea seem to be getting on quite well, though, don't they?
Yeah.
In terms of a working pair. Emma's been kind of replaced. I did think at one point, actually, thinking of Emma, they were trying to find their car at the festival, and they're like, I'm sure we parked it by that tree. And then you just look over and, Emma and Ed are sawing every tree down in the place, and Justin's running after them going, no, not that one.
Yeah, loads of trees are falling onto VW campers, left, right, and centre.
I mean, you said Lily was prepared, but putting all your stuff in the car and then going back to the festival is a grade A way of coming back and finding all of your gear is gone as well.
Oh no, really?
Well, it didn't happen, but it can happen.
I thought everyone who went to festivals were hippies and really great and loving of everyone.
Yeah, about 60% of them are.
But... the rest are chances.
Yeah. So, Keri, at the beginning of this week's episode, we heard that I was wrong about them being at the Wrinkly Music Festival, and we are now topping up with a Thursday reaction. And you were right, Natasha is not happy about Fallon doing this gig. I didn't really think it would be a big deal, having been in that industry. I thought she would just suck it up. But do you think it was the fact that it was coupled with there was a day off that really got under Natasha's skin?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because she said you booked a day off when you should be working. Well, you're allowed to book days off when you should be working. And arguably, you can do what you like, really, on your days off, can't you? But I think she's turned it into a business opportunity for herself, of course, based on one very vague booking that these two have made together. She now thinks this is a new business idea that she can get behind and market. And Fallon did not sound very happy about that, did she?
No, because it's going to be a lot more work. It's going to be weekends. It's going to be evenings. Of course she doesn't want to be fucking doing this.
Also, Natasha will profit from it as well.
She's up there with Tom, as far as I'm concerned, and they deserve each other.
Yeah, she just bulldozes in, doesn't she? And knows that they're in a vulnerable position because she's their boss. It's another classic... It's a bullying thing again, isn't it? Using your status to manipulate others.
Any self-respecting person, obviously, that had the financial wherewithal to do so would just tell them where to stuff their job at this point. But I think this is the beginning of the little nicks in the wood that lead to her going somewhere else. Because there's just no freedom there, is there, whatsoever. And Chelsea's gone right over her head. She's like, oh, this is brilliant. Mm-hmm. Fallon's just there going, all right, I can see my weekends going down the drain now to do it, like making bloody fondant penises.
Yeah, it's a shame that Fallon didn't say, whoa, this is a one-off that we're helping a friend with. Totally different kettle of fish to some sort of business proposal. That's what you should say, like not get aerated about it, but just calmly say, you seem to be running away with something here that isn't there.
And also, I'm doing a favour for your husband's second cousin or whatever. Like, she was going to find out eventually. At the moment Ruth said, I'm popping over the shop, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. She dropped the right clanger, didn't she? Well, hopefully Fallon will stand her ground at some point in the future.
She wasn't doing it very well tonight, was she?
No. I think it took her by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea obviously is maturing a little. She's becoming a lot more amiable in terms of how she talks to other people. The growl is gone completely, isn't it? We haven't heard the growl in a long time, or that kind of like... But I did thought I heard it earlier in the week, but it was the cappuccino machine in the background.
I can hear it in my ears right now. She does do a few squeals, doesn't she still? Excited squeals.
Stella wasn't too excited about the whole kind of the girliness of the hen party, was she? You could tell she was starting to retract more and more.
I know. Well, she kind of said the thought of rom-com films, yuck, by the way. She said, can they be decent ones? And they're like, no, they've got to be cheesy and schmaltzy. And they're making sugar craft kind of flowers for cupcakes, which then turned into, well, you know, as it's a hen, you can make other things as well. I was like, oh, do me a favour. Making penises out of icing.
There was a period during the first few months of the pandemic that I discovered that if you had a shared laptop with Zoom on it, even if you went in on your own login, it would still have the background of the other person who had used it before, even if they had their own password and login. And Mary had like a cocktail party online with her mates, and didn't think anything of it. The next day I logged in, I had 5 minutes to go before my class was about to show up. And I looked up and I had a beret, rouge, and behind me a bunch of chocolate penises. And
Danger!
The frantic WhatsApp messages that were exchanged at that point, because I couldn't figure out how to get the filter off, how to get rid of the chocolate penises.
God.
Yeah, today we're going to do the passive
Hi,
voice.
kids.
There was another point I was thinking about in all of this.
Manipulative kitten, emotional blackmail kitten story as well.
Well, Kenton's taken one as home defence for the bull, should Marky and his dog show up again.
Stella chatted to Ruth. Well, she preferred to chat to Ruth, it seemed, than deal with Pip. And she'd also rather check the moisture on barley than have lunch with Pip. Wouldn't we all?
I'm liking the fact that her and Ruth are getting on again, though, because there was that awkward conversation in the toilets, wasn't there, that night, which said, look, that we're going to have to reset the boundaries.
I quite enjoyed Pip sounding mortally wounded that Stella has never spent one moment imagining being married to her.
Yeah. Early days.
Oh, no.
By the way, talking of rom-coms, we dissed the idea of the youngsters at the stables the other day watching Bridget Jones. And multiple people got in touch to say that their kids watch Bridget Jones and they're younger than Lily and Paul and Josh. But then I noticed that filming has begun on a new Bridget Jones, and I wonder if they just threw it in as a little nod to the fact there's a new one coming out, because they saw a photo of Renée Zellweger and Hugh Grant reprising their roles.
Okay. Yeah, interesting and sickening at the same time.
Exactly, yeah. Keri and I are actually wrapping this up on a Thursday this week because I'm off to a medieval reenactment in the middle of nowhere in Portugal. So I'm off to eat like meat off the bone and run people through with a massive spear. So, I mean, it's like a normal weekend for me, to be honest.
Matthew, is it your birthday this weekend?
No, it's not.
Soon.
Very
soon. It's not today, is it, or something?
There was a horror movie called Don't Go to Sleep, and the ghost of the daughter used to ring up the house and go, soon, very soon, which is what you just said about my birthday, Karen.
Sorry, Matthew.
It's all right.
I've probably got it in my calendar.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
It is.
Brilliant. Okay.
It's the big one.
I knew that you were becoming medieval around your birthday.
Yeah, I know. It's quite apt, isn't it?
It is. Middle-aged.
All right, yeah, so let's have a little break and then we'll go into our socials. How's that?
Hen party? No problem, mate.
Why not let Bridge Farm Fun Events handle everything, as Pat and Tony take the bull by the horns? Tequila? Forget it. Slam some of Pat's soup shots. Join Tony on his famed karaoke machine. Train kept a rollin'. Super Trooper. Heaven knows I'm miserable now. The hits keep coming, just like a passionate Tony on his birthday.
Provided Peggy hasn't sent him a special video message.
And at the end of the night, enjoy a heartfelt spoken word performance from the dynamic duo, as they tell you how everything is shit in life and you should probably just pack it all in now.
If you want to support the podcast, you can do that by going to www.patreon.com/the cider shed, where you can get our episodes early and ad-free, and you also get bonus midweek episodes where we talk about other things in the Archers, some things sometimes slightly adjacent to the Archers, and we also do time travel episodes where we go back and listen to previous omnibuses and talk about them. This week we did the omnibus where Mark Hebden died, deciding to ram his car into a tree rather than spend a lifetime with Shula. That went down very well.
And we didn't see you and Mark at the weekend. And Shula really awkwardly had to say that they'd been busy. And then nicely said, oh, should we go up to the coffee shop after we bought the bat? And Jill was like, only if you've got time.
She felt put out by what had ever happened this weekend, and you do start to get that ticking clock feeling, don't you, of time running out for somebody in this. One of the euphemisms David used for hitting a cricket ball really hard sounded a bit wrong. Did you hear this?
Oh, we'll be knocking him into Auntie Peggy's garden with this.
But David sounds exactly the same 30 years ago as he sounds now.
Yeah. Do you know what I did, Matthew? I wrote down a lot of the ages of the people who were in this omnibus at the time that they were.
Sorry, I went a bit Yoda then. Sorry.
But I did write down David in this as one of them. He was 34 at the time of this.
And Mark was turning 39. Apparently nervous about turning 40. Don't worry about it, Mark.
Yeah, nothing to be worried about.
Not going to be a problem. Now, she said Nigel sang like a canary. And then David responded, when you imagine a canary being killed, what's the principal form of death of a canary?
They were used in mines, weren't they, to test for gas?
They were. Just listen to the voice David decided to use.
I've got to go.
He spilled the beans, I'm afraid. Sung like a canary.
We have ways of dealing with canaries.
It wouldn't happen now, would it?
No.
But have a listen to the noise Jill makes early on in this clip, look.
Okay.
I've got to go.
He spilled the beans, I'm afraid. Sung like a canary.
We have ways of dealing with canaries.
Yeah, she did. Someone goosed her, didn't they? It sounds like. I think Phil was having a bit of a grab.
Yeah, David got outside and then continued to himself. Yes, we pushed them off a roof in 17 years' time.
Yeah.
Listen to the full episode at patreon.com/the cider shed.
Oh, you'll dig this, Keri. Chloe Richardson said, AI is come in useful. Hooray! According to ChatGPT, in The Archers, the BBC radio soap, the jug that Debbie Aldridge found at the Grundys in 1994 was valued at $5,000.
Wow. I wonder what they did with that money.
Yeah. She said she also asked what that is in today's dollar, and it said approximately 9,800, to which she's added way more than Bartleby.
Yes. Oh, great. Thanks for checking that.
Caroline, who suggested the episode, said, great episode, thanks for indulging me. There was so much passive-aggressive behaviour from everyone, especially towards Ruth. She really should have run off with the cowherd Sam. Pat said, they never found the driver. I think the Mustard Land message board, pre-Twitter version of the tweet-along, had some ideas, but it's never been solved. I loved Robin too, Keri. Great voice. Interesting too that Richard Locke cheated on his partner Usha with Shula after baby Dan was diagnosed with arthritis. That would be a great episode to find when Susan blurted out about it at a meeting in the village hall. Oh, we might have to track that down.
Yes, please. Thank you, Pat, for suggesting that.
Helen said, in my head, Kate ran off with the takings from the fishing lake. Is that still going, by the way?
Is that what Denise and Alistair were floating on?
I thought she ran off with horse racing money from Lower Loxley, and they were talking about the point-to-point being at Lower Loxley in that episode, but I don't know.
We have to ask ChatGPT, clearly.
Rob has said, love you dearly, Keri, but I was as confused as Matthew by the shop opening question. Thanks, Rob.
On that day, which shops, that day being a Sunday?
I know. I mean, just in the moment, you know.
Oh, yeah. In the moment. You bloody rewound and played it again. Idiots.
Thanks, Keri. Way to butter up your co-host and your listener. He did say, I seem to remember Lower Loxley having a ha-ha. So you mentioned that, didn't you? And he also added, the early days of Robin confused me. I kept wondering, why has the vicar got his arm up that cow's arse? On our election special, Alex just missed the cut-off last week with the comments. He said, this is wonderful. Many thanks for all the hard work in editing it. I'd be very happy for the podcast to be this long. Bloody hell, Alex.
So would I. Matthew wouldn't, however.
Though I'm sure you and Keri much prefer the normal length episodes. Well, there you go. Great to hear Peter too. I saw Gavin Williamson on the tube recently. He was looking very supercilious with his special advisor in tow. One of my teaching friends told me that I should have kicked him in the shins when I told her later that I'd seen him. I forgot to send a message about the log picture. Do you remember the log with the face in it? That was Alex as well. Which again, I really appreciated you reading out. Last year, lots of trees fell over, and when they eventually were cut down, someone carved a face into the remaining part of the tree. I kept meaning to take a photo and send it to the Facebook group, as I thought of Keri's depiction of Adam as a log every time I saw it. Angela said, I enjoyed listening to the weirdness that was around the Leeds chat. I used to frequent the Vic at the back of Leeds Town Hall, but this may have been long before Keri's time. When I went there in the 70s, there was a legendary landlady called Bridget. My mother used to work in Holbeck, LS10, and we lived in LS11, Beeston. Please, can we have more postcodes? Leicester has some fabulous ones. This should definitely be a regular feature. Louise was saying, we just started listening and got very excited. Damon Egan was our mayor too. We had no idea Peter is also in Lewisham. We're leaving later in the summer after 11 years for my new job. We then cleared up that Peter is no longer in Lewisham. And she realised when she listened on. Laura said, amazing, thanks for all your hard work, guys. And Michelle White said, just catching up with us now. Thank you all so much. I really enjoyed it. Absolutely lovely to hear Peter again. Well done in all the editing of this. It was fabulous and made me laugh. So that was the comments on our election special. And regards last week's episode, Dear John, Dodgy Denise. Nina says, I detest Denise. There you go. Rob thanked us for the shout out, and he was sitting at home resting, just building up the energy to do some industrial strength slobbing. Yeah, we spoke to him since, haven't we?
Yeah.
Julie said, hi guys, loving your work as always. Ramsbury is a real place, just southeast of Swindon. To which I replied, nice try, Julie. Everyone knows Swindon isn't real. Now, this is contentious. Joe Graham sent a link to the farm from Twitter with all the animals. Now, I believe Keri has been sent that a couple of times since the episode, including by me on WhatsApp. And it kind of gave you a full-blown panic attack, didn't it, Keri?
Well, I was quite hungover, and there was a very sort of shouty commentary from a man on it.
Yeah, there always is.
Which made my head hurt.
Catty said, feeling a huge amount of hope now that Celia Sparrow is in power. Tough on Borsetshire Blue, tough on the causes of Borsetshire Blue.
Yes.
Mandy said, I just wondered if you'd like to do the Who Would They Vote For the other Archers podcasts. I double dog dare you.
Well, they think the Daily Mail's an August publication, so on one of them.
And finally, Mims, I love this. I have a new theory. Mick is the 60% shareholder and he's doing some kind of undercover boss situation. You know, the one where like they start crying. It's like, I'm going to buy you a house.
Yeah, I love that programme. I watch it frequently. The disguises are always so bad when they go undercover. Love it. 2 people that have become patrons this week. Firstly, Emma Roberts.
Badger! Welcoming Emma Roberts into the Cider Shed Patreon posse. Thanks so much for joining us, Emma. Now knock yourself out with all the bonus episodes.
Ooh.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks so much for all your help. And Lucy Hoskins.
Hey there, Lucy Hoskins. We are honored to have you with us in the Cider Shed Patreon. Thanks so much, Lucy.
Badger!
Yay.
Thanks, Lucy. So thank you to everyone that supports us on Patreon. Thanks to everyone for leaving the comments and supporting us. We're very, very grateful for it. Another way you can support us is by leaving a review. Now, Keri last week went on the hard sell for this by saying that she doesn't know how to sell anything. But is that so, Keri?
Well, it worked. We did get a marvellous 5-star review from Paul Edmund. The title is Loving This, and Paul says, I originally came to the Archers for Rob and Helen all those years ago, but other plots and characters couldn't hold my attention. I returned a year ago with Rob, in brackets worryingly, and have stuck with it, and so glad I did. But I'd no one to talk to about it. All my mates, and then in brackets late 50s, like footy and horses. Then I discovered Keri and Matthew in the Cider Shed. I binged a year's worth in a week.
Blimey.
And poor sod. And suddenly it's all a bit clearer. Who's who's done who, why and when. Now I kind of know what's going on, in brackets, I think. And I love that I'm not going mad when storylines vanish or I feel like I've missed 4 episodes when there are plot caps. Matt's ads are hilarious, but it's the 2 leads who make it warm, welcoming and brilliant. Sunday routine is omnibus and cider shed on a long walk.
Oh, lovely. Thanks, Paul. Lovely words. I like this idea that people are walking in the countryside. Well, it may not be the countryside. Let us know where you walk, Paul. I'm very nosy.
Yeah, that's such a lovely review. Thank you so much for taking the time to write that.
Yeah, they are a massive help to us. So thanks to everyone that's written one in the past. If you want to get in touch on our Facebook, you can join our Facebook group at the Cider Shed Podcast, and you can follow our Instagram, which is at the Cider Shed Pod.
And on Twitter, we're at the Cider Shed Pod, and Blue Sky at the Cider Shed Pod.bsky.social.
All right, Keri, let's get out of here and let everyone run free through the fields, go foraging, go for walks, do whatever they do when they're listening to us. Just pay attention to the death or dinner feature at the start. We don't want to lose listeners.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon.
Take care, everyone.
I'd know not to eat a foxglove.